We have a very exciting keynote right now, and to introduce our keynote, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Alan Thornburrow. Alan, over to you.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's very good to see you. I've stayed quite conspicuous through the course of today. I'm Alan from Mindroom. It's a real pleasure to be able to stand on this platform because I know Sophie and many, many more have put 2 years of work into getting us to here. But it's not about me. I'm delighted to introduce Paul McNeill. Paul is Head of Community Development for the Scottish Football Association, and I think it's fair to say made me cry within about 10 minutes of meeting in a good way. So, Paul, I'd like to hand over to you, and we're going to just play a short video first of all to get us started.
Football saved my life because it gave me the drive, the determination and the passion to be successful. But it also gave me the friends and the camaraderie you need in life, that when you're challenged, you've got something to fall back on. When I was 22 years of age, my father committed suicide. Maybe the most devastating moment in my life. I didn't know what to do, but I was lucky that all these friends and people I'd met in football stretched out to me. I'm dyslexic and I learn a little bit differently. A teacher told me that I was a problem child, that I would amount to nothing, and I really shouldn't dream too high. It was just tough at school. I was bullied and teased, but lucky enough for me, it was 1982 and it was a World Cup in Spain, and I always remember it so well that there was this kind of magical moment in my life where I found football. When I found out I could play and I could run about on a football pitch, it just became a safety zone for me. These kind of white lines of safety, I would cross over them and I would just have so much fun, and all the teasing and bullying and everything else could just go away. In 1987, I'm a Paisley boy and I'm a big St Mirren fan, and my dad took me to the 87 Cup final. And when St Mirren won, he lifted me above his head and said, "We did it, me man." And it was the most magical moment in my whole life. But of course, you went back to Monday morning and just the hardship of school and the bullying and everything else that went on. One Saturday, about 3 weeks after burying my dad, I got a phone call, and it was from the guy that ran my football team. He said, "Wee man, we're coming to get you and you're playing on Saturday." I said, "I don't think I'm very ready for that." He says, "We're coming to get you, wee man, don't worry about it." And I went and I played this game of football, and I was 9 again. I was running about as if I didn't have a care in the world. I walked off that football pitch that day. I just felt good about myself. I just had good people and friends round about me, and as I walked up to the change room, a person who I've never met from the opposition team, I didn't know who he was, just wandered up beside me and said, "Well played today, wee man." He put his arm around me and he said, "I heard about your dad. My brother committed suicide. You're going to be okay because we've got your back." And I just stopped and I just thought, how lucky am I to have all these friends? How lucky was I to find a sport that in your darkest day will look after you? And I decided that moment in my life that something must change. So I did it. I went back to college to try and do something in sports because it was my dream when I was 5. And then life just seemed to just turn for me. It just seemed to be the positivity that I had in my life started to change. And all the time through it, I had friends and people covering my back at my football team saying, "You'll do all right, wee man." I now coach my son's football team, and I watch as my son sometimes struggles at school, having that little bit of a challenge with dyslexia as well. And sometimes when he comes home and he's not had a good day at school, I say, "Mum, we'll go and get the ball, wee man." And the smile comes on his face. And he's 87 again. It's the cup final. I just see him just being happy and content. And when I coach his team, I just see all these wee young boys wanting to have a dream. And it's my job to give them that, as every volunteer gave me mine. As every day I felt bad about myself, they patted me on the back and told me I'd be okay, told me life would be good. And I just thank every volunteer, every friend I had, because without yous, I've no idea where my life would have went. And that's why I love football. That's why I think it saved my life.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. Always really emotional when I watch that, and never easy. My son says, "Can you stop showing that video, Dad? I'm nearly 30 now with kids." So apologies. Let me introduce myself. I am Paul McNeill. I'm 48 years young. I don't like using the word old, because when you use the word old, you need to pay for your own mortgage, and you actually need to do your own washing. So I never like using that. I'm the head of football development. I'll talk a little bit about this journey that I go on. I'm an ambassador for Dyslexia Scotland, which I am so honoured to be. I've still no idea why Dyslexia Scotland, after 10 years, still want me to be an ambassador. I think they just wind me up and go and let me smash down doors, and they all come behind me like the cavalry and fix everything out. But I'm so proud to be that. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Julie, there, and that's both my 2 Munchkin kids, who are a lot older than that photo, but that's where I proposed to my wife when we went back there, so that's the reason we use that photograph. And both my children are dyslexic, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And I'm dyslexic as well. I have to do a little bit of a government health warning before I start. This is going to be a roller coaster, and I have no idea where we're going to go for the next 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and I'll be brutally honest about that. We are going to go up. We are going to go down. There'll be times when I will cry, and I will cry. Don't worry about me. I'm all right. We'll go loop the loop. We'll hopefully get to the end safely, and hopefully you'll go, "That was really good. Can we do it again?" But sometimes we don't do it. But more importantly, one of my mottos, or one of the things I always do is I say, don't worry. Just be happy. And I have learned that throughout my life, and I have to admit, I've shed a few tears today listening to some of the presentations. But do you know something? I've been absolutely motivated because of the sheer passion and determination of people to make a difference in life. So I'm always going to be smiling, no matter what, because you can hopefully find out in the next 20 odd minutes you can knock me down, but you will never squat me up. And I will keep coming back swinging and fighting stronger than ever before. So I don't worry. I'll be happy. I'm not going to lie, this is going to be a bit of a journey, and I'm going to move about a lot of times, so apologies for people that's online there. They'll probably just see this daft tiger bouncing about the stage for a wee bit. So it's a story. So it's important to tell about the start of the story. So I was born in 1974. It was a different era. Back then, I don't come from very much. I come from an archetypical working class family. We had a 2-bedroom tenement flat. I shared a bedroom with my sister, and bunk beds till I think we were about 21 or something. But we just grew up in that type of world. I didn't realise we were poor until I grew up and realised people had money. I just thought you always had to stitch your socks and something, and you walked everywhere and you couldn't afford taxis. I didn't know that. I didn't know you actually could go on a summer holiday, isn't it? That wasn't Rossi. I mean, so that's it. I've got a younger sister who's an absolute angel, and my mum and dad were Anne and Hugh McNeill. But it's a different generation. I grew up with 3 channels in the telly. 3 channels. You know what I mean? It was really quick. 1, 2, 3. They all finished at 11 o'clock, and a big woo, and that was it. That was the day over, wasn't it? It was a different world. There was no mobile phones. There was no internet. There was no emails. There was nothing like that. I try and explain that to my son. He says, "Dad, see how there was no mobile phones and no internet?" I said, "Aye." He said, "How did you update your Snapchat?" Wee man, honestly, you. But life was tough. I started school in 1979. If anybody knows a wee bit about history, they'll know a little bit about what happened in 1979. A particular person called Margaret Thatcher became Prime Minister. My father thought it was really funny when I started school to tell me, "See that woman Thatcher, she stole your milk," isn't it? It was when we were going through the 3-day week, there was a recession going on. You know what I mean? The world's a wee bit bleak. It sounds a wee bit familiar, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Not much has changed. But of course, I started school in 79, and I went into school, and I went in as that bundle of fun, you know, that kind of 5 and 6-year-old. You're just like, hello, I'm in at school. And I just wanted to learn. I wanted to learn, that's probably the wrong thing. I just was really excited. A wee daft kid, I just was excited. I mean, I'd been filled up with Smarties and fired in and hopefully got on with it. And I remember being in school when I was there at the very first time. You always do that, but what do you want to do when you grow up? Well, I'm nearly 50 years of age and I've still not worked it out, but you know what I mean? But I wrote down that day that I wanted to be the first person ever to land on Mars, because we got to the moon, that wasn't that far, it was about that in the map. So I thought, well, we can get there. And I wanted to get back for the weekend to captain Scotland to win the World Cup. So I wrote that down in my thing, and I thought, that's what I want to do. And then the realisation of school hit me. And these things really, really started to hit. My writing and my spelling were horrendous. I mean, horrific. And I used to look at people and think, how are you doing that? Why are my letters not the same as your letters? Why do B's and D's always confuse me? And it just really hurt me. My reading ability was woeful. I used to really freak out about reading. I just couldn't work out what the words were or anything. And I really felt that kind of lost and that really confused in the classroom. And to give you a little bit of context, when I was 6 years of age, and you probably can tell it, I'm not your kind of archetypical kid that sits in their seat and go, it's all right, all the letters down here. I don't do that, right? And the teacher, because I was a wee bit disruptive, brought me up to the front of the class, took my trousers down, put me over her knee and smacked me 6 times. And I gave up. I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I cried every single day. And I thought, I can't go on. I can't literally do this. Why is everybody picking on me? And it just went on like that. I got to primary 5 and 2 things happened simultaneously, back-to-back days. The teacher asked me to do some stuff, and I really struggled to write things down off the board, and I kept struggling to do it, and the teacher kept, and she stood up in the class and went, see this book in front of everybody? This is a disgrace. Boys and girls never do work like this. This boy is no use, and in fact, it's dirty. Threw it in the bin and threw me out of the class. I literally collapsed out, just crying. And the next day I came into school, and the same teacher, basically, as I say in the video there, called me a problem child. And said, don't you ever aim too high in life, because you will amount to nothing. That was the words that came out of her mouth. And I just thought, I'm going nowhere. And nobody bothered. My poor mum was fighting, and I mean fighting. My mum's a tough woman. You don't mess with her. I still don't. And she was fighting, but she couldn't go, he's not a bad kid. Why are you doing this to him? Why are you doing this to him? Like, he's just a problem kid. That's all they said to him all the time. Nobody ever looked at anything. And then there was one strange thing, and this is the strangest thing. In primary 7, I'm actually really good at maths, but probably archetypical, my school was the same as the schools back in the 80s. We had 3 big tables. So all the clever kids were on this table here, right? So they were all there. They had the window. They had all the pencils that worked. And they were right beside the teacher, because the teacher loved those kids, didn't they? Because they'd done all the work, didn't it? Then you had the middle group, didn't you? They had the borrow pencils for them, right? And they were quite close to the teacher, and the teacher quite liked them because they were all right. And they could actually see the window as well. Then there was my group. Don't worry, I wasn't here. I was away along here, right? We were beside the radiator that was on all the time. We had to send an email. I was going to say an email there. We had to send a letter to the teacher. Can we get a bit of help? We didn't have pencils. We had crayons. And see, in the class, the only person to move in the whole class for maths was me. I used to take my stuff and say, see you later, kids. All the way up to the top class. I was brilliant. The teacher used to give me maths every week to try and trick me. You can't work that out, Paul. Show your workings. I don't need to show my workings. I can work it in my head. Do you show your workings? I don't need to do my workings. Look, I've got it right. My dad used to come and go, can you do it? Yeah, well, why are you trying to get him out? And it just went on like this. But my mum kept going, why is he in this thing? And then, he can't read, so he really should be in the middle table. My dad goes, but he's good at maths. Why are you putting the middle table? Nobody done anything. And I have to admit, I wasted my time. I just had this really negativity about school. I hated it. I cried every day. I kicked off. I just didn't want to be there. You can imagine reading. I panicked, and I would just throw things about the classroom. And it was horrendous. Ironically, my primary school and secondary school were separated by a football pitch. And in 1986, which was a fantastic one because I'm a big football fan, 86 World Cup, brilliant. I got to sit up late. I got to eat Coca-Cola right about 9 o'clock at night. My dad was brilliant. He had a great laugh. And it was a brilliant World Cup. It was a brilliant World Cup for a variety of reasons, particularly Maradona thinking by about 4,000 Englishmen and scoring a goal, but we'll not go into that, right? But I was going to start high school that August, and we'd done the thing. And I'm going to give you a couple of things here. And if you're a parent, you're going to learn a quick rule here that you never should do, and you've probably already done it, so you're embarrassed already. So we wandered up, and the guidance teacher was there, and I'm here, probably a wee bit smaller. My mum's there, the guidance teacher there. My mum done the whispering thing, and yous all do it, particularly mums who do it. He's a bit of a problem child. I was like, oh, Mum, this woman's never met me, and you threw me under the bus. And the guidance teacher was brilliant. She went like that. She said, right, I'll tell you what, we'll make you a deal. I'll make a deal with you. And I went, okay, what are you talking about here, sweets? She went, no. You come to this school and we'll forget everything that happened in primary school. We'll just start again. And I went, oh, you don't know how bad I've been doing there, but I'm up for that. And on we went. And I loved secondary school in the first few weeks. Different subjects. You could go round about the school. Even better, those kids that were totally bonkers. So I got away with murder. And then this was our book. The Big Friendly Giant was the book that we done in S1. And the teacher, we were reading it for a period of time in the school. Probably about a month in, I would say, to the school. You've kind of found your feet, so on and so forth. And the teacher says, I want you to go home today, boys and girls, and in a couple of days' time, I want you to write. I don't care how you write it. It's just about you meeting the Big Friendly Giant. That's all I want you to do. You meet the Big Friendly Giant, and then write. Bit of free writing, on you go. So away home, a few days later, we come in. Teacher's got all our names in front of her. She puts her hand in the hat. Out it comes, Paul McNeill. Up you get, tell us your story. No problem. Brilliant. And I'm actually all right at that. I'm quite a storyteller, as you probably kind of gathered over the last couple of minutes. So I wrote this story about the Giant coming to meet me, and you're never going to guess we went to the Giant World Cup, didn't we? The stadiums were huge, right? The trophy was massive, and I was really good at the Giant World Cup because I could dribble through the Giant's legs. Woohoo! Let's not worry about the ball being big, all right? It's my story, all right? So, teacher was like, that's brilliant. Gathered them all in. She went like that, brilliant. And then something happened, and I'm sure this happens to every single person who's ever been at school. Teacher says, continue on with your reading, boys and girls, do chapter 3, 4, 5. So no problem. So I'm there, kidding around, I can read. And you know that way the teacher then stares at you, and you're like that, and you look up and the teacher's right on you, with that laser vision. So you do the obvious thing, you put your head down. She'll no look at me now, and you peer over the top of your book. Oh no, she's still looking at me. And then what happened was the bell went, and you know what children are like? We can get outside of school and tick quicker than Usain Bolt. The bell goes and we're all, whoa! And I was running out, she went like, Paul, can you stay behind? I was like, oh, I didn't smash that windy, miss. What windy? What? And she said, Paul, can you do me a favour? I said, yes. She said, can you read what you were reading out? I said, yeah. I said, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I didn't write da-da-da-da, just in case you were all thinking I'm really daft. I said, she said, that's not what's written there, and that's not what you wrote out there. I said, aye, it is. She said, no, it's not. Aye, it is. No, it's not. That went on for a wee while, right? So we'll fast forward. We've done a bit of assessments. That particular English teacher was brilliant. She went round about and went, who's Paul McNeill? Paul McNeill was brilliant at PE. Paul McNeill was brilliant at maths. See if he could just tidy up his workings. Oh, Paul, brilliant at science. See if he could just take... Oh, this doesn't make any sense. Done a bit of assessments. In a week, I was dyslexic. But it's 1986. We kind of just moved on. I get given a word processor. Ladies and gentlemen, the word processor was the same size as this hall. I had to carry it to school and back. I was like that. I used to set up at 4 in the morning. But we didn't change anything. And it actually became worse for me because nobody else really understood. And we kept asking me to read out loud. Nothing was changed. And I just get more and more nervous. But as I say before, my school was due to close down. I was going to be the last 2 years going through the school. And I'm telling you, it was horrendous. There was water pouring in through the windows. There was windows smashed. We didn't have any resources. We had nothing. But worse than that, I had a stigma now. I had this big bell on my neck of dyslexia that nobody explained. People in the playground go, hey, wee man, can you spell cat? It starts with a D. Look at me, dyslexic. I was just teased and bullied and everything else. And you probably see one of the bullet points up there. My mum and dad came to my guidance to pick my O grades. That's how old I am. And we sat down and they were discussing them without even considering me. I was wanting to do kind of sporty subjects and all that. And they went, no. Paul should do French. I was going, hey, guys, I'm struggling with English. I don't really think a foreign language is going to really do me anyway. I don't even think I can do anything. It was just a waste of time. And I just drifted through this school. And it got harder and harder and harder. And my school was really tough. And I remember going up to a teacher, because the way our school system was, and we were getting supply teachers a lot of the time, and saying, I need a wee bit of help. And the teacher going, just going to sit down. And I just went, I was 14, and I went, sod it. That's it, it's over. I've done enough. And I gave up. I remember the day, I just came home and went, do you know something? And I would lie to my mum, I would be late in the bus, I just gave up. I literally gave up in school. And at 15 years of age, I was dreaming that I could be a football player. Unfortunately, for a really bad, unfortunate circumstances of having a total lack of ability. That was never going to happen. And I left school at 15 years of age with no qualifications really to my name. And my guidance teacher in the way, as I kind of wandered out of school, said, Paul, do me a favour, just try and look after yourself and don't end up in jail. And that was me. I was 15, nothing to my name. I think I've got my psycho-proficiency certificate. It's not very good for doing very much, but that was it. And something strange happened. I wanted to go on and try and go to college. I wanted to try and follow sport. I was determined I was going to do that. And the one thing, the only one time my dad ever done this, he took me in the kitchen one day and he said, look, your mum has been struggling for the last number of years fighting this school system. You need to look after her. And she's panicking about you. She's worrying about you. Go on and just do me a favour. Go on and just go and take that apprentice electrician. Please. And I went, and he never really asked for very much, my dad. Wasn't he a really good guy? He'd kind of go and give you a hug and all that. And I went, aye, okay. And at 15, that was me. My dreams were over. I was 15. I just stood in a cold shipyard, freezing, just thinking, God, is this my life? Watching people drink. And I ended up dropping into that bit of society. I started gambling too much, drinking too much. My life was really over. I was 16, 17. I remember thinking by the time I get to 18, 19, I can maybe have a car. And if I get to 21, then I can drink in any booze. And that was my ambitions in life. I remember thinking, I wonder how many years I've got left until I die. That was it. And as I say up there, at 22 years of age, my dad took his own life. And I just went, God, this is rubbish, isn't it? And that's the best way I describe my life. It's 10 men, 3-0 down. My life's going absolutely nowhere. Why? Because everybody had let me down. And all the problem was I was dyslexic. That was it. But I'm lucky. I am really lucky, and I know a lot of people will say this. I have the greatest mum in the world. You might all think you've got the greatest mum in the world. I do, right? So there's no an argument. You've got the second best mum if you ever think about that, right? And my mum calls me her little ray of sunshine. To the day, I'll go to Morrison's for a cup of coffee with her and she'll go, see you later, my little ray of sunshine. My wife will go, are you not embarrassed? I go, but who would ever be embarrassed at getting called a little ray of sunshine? You have your head. But more importantly, my mum and dad were really good at teaching me things. When the Berlin Wall came down, my dad told me the purpose of why the Berlin Wall coming down was important. When Mandela walked free, my dad banged on at me about apartheid and about subjects like that. No matter what, about anything else, he'd done things with me. You might not be able to read this one up here, but this is one of my mum's great sayings. She says, sometimes it's the smallest of decisions that can change your life forever. I was working in a shipyard, I was 25 years of age, and it was by ESO, and it was a big £500 million contract had to get done, right? And one of the managing directors were coming over to decide whether or not we're going to invest £500 million or not. And my job, don't worry, I wasn't in charge of the £500 million in case you all started to panic there, right? I was in charge of the keys. I could get you into places. So we're walking around the shipyard, we're kind of opening up the things, and the guy, the managing director, was a really good guy. He was brilliant, and he used to chat a lot of times about how the things we could kind of go and do things and so on and so forth. He was a massive big sports fan, and so was I, so we clicked it right off. And he told me a story one day. He said, Paul, do you know that when I was at college, I was meant to be in the draw system for the American football, right? And if anybody knows about American sport, that means he was actually going to be a multi-millionaire. He was the best quarterback. He was going to be in the draft system there. And 18 months out, he got a bad shoulder injury, and that was him. He wasn't going to do it. His scholarship was in engineering, so he went on, and that was him. And he says, but don't worry about it. I said, why not worry about it? He says, because me and my pal are going to buy an American football team. And I says, don't be stupid. He said, why? He said, that costs millions of pounds. And he went like, you've got to have a dream. You've got to have a dream. What's your dream, Paul? And I went, I want to land on Mars. And he went, what? I says, what am I doing here? I got in the car that night and I drove home, and floods of tears. I sat in my bed crying, looking and thinking, what am I doing with my life? Why did I let them win? Why did I let them win? I wanted to do something in my life. I walked down the stairs, tears pouring down my eyes. My mum went, you okay? I went, Mum, can I go back to college? Can I do something? She went, you do whatever you want, son. I'll always support you, no matter what. I said, right, okay. I lied to her at that moment, told I was going to do electrical engineering because I was an electrician, it made sense. But I went back and done sport. But what I found out quite quickly was that your cycle proficiency certificate doesn't get you into uni. You should tell kids that. They really should. So I had to go back to college. I had to go the long road round. And it was a new start. Here was a new journey. But everybody was really young. I was only 25. People were 18. I was like, oh my God, what the heck's going on here? Why have I done this? These things had happened. When did the internet get created? It was an email. I kept asking people where I put the stamp to send it. I had never written a structured essay, and I mean never written a structured essay in my life. My lecturer in my first essay went, do you want to buy a comma, Paul? I went, what's a comma? Do you just put them anywhere? I was honestly no idea what I was doing. Not an absolute clue in my life. And then two things happened to me. I was doing okay in the first couple of weeks, and because I'd applied to do a practical qualification, so I was doing a sports degree, so I was doing a sports HND, so it was really practical in nature, but you still have to do a lot of assessments. And I got home one night with my bag, and I'd started to feel the strain of it. Do you know what I mean? I'd given up a lot of money. I was working, do you know what I mean? And I was now living back in my mum's home, and didn't have any money, and my mates are going out and they're buying holidays and buying clothes, and I had nothing. And I remember one day just opening up my bag with my notes, and I couldn't read them. I couldn't read the notes, and I couldn't read anything, and I just went, oh my God. And I became 9 again. And I started shaking, and I was just like, and I picked up my cup of coffee, and I launched it across the room. And I just lost the plot. And I just threw tables and upended tables and chairs and everything. And I burst out crying. I went, why did they let me down? Why didn't they look after me? Why did teachers let me down? Why did they make me feel this way? And I cried the whole night, lay on a couch, got myself up, dragged myself into college to chuck it, to go back to the shipyard. And I walked in and I went to my lecturer, I can't do this. I've had enough. I've had enough. And he went, whoa, calm down. You're staying here. You've done really well. What's the problem? And I said, I'm dyslexic. I can't do it. I just can't do it. He said, right, whoa. Let's talk about your coping strategy. I went, what? Your coping strategy, what do you use? What things have you got in place? What systems have you got in place? What software do you use? I said, I don't know what you're talking about. He went, what are you on? And I told him the story, and he went, right, a lot of things happened in the next 2 weeks where we got much more recognition, we put a lot of things in place, so on and so forth. And one of the biggest things that happened was that lecturer took me aside and he said, right, we're going to write a coping strategy down for you. And I had never, ever had any that helped me in my life. And this coping strategy is something I still use today. One of the first things we wrote in it was hard work. Why did we write hard work? Hard work is a controllable. Don't ever think that is something different from telling a child to work hard. Because if you're dyslexic, you're probably working as hard as you possibly can. But hard work is something I could understand. I'd worked in a shipyard for over 10 years. I knew what graft was, and I could control that. I could determine if I wanted to work hard or not work hard. I had to plan my time. One of the most hardest things in my life was I had to think about every single day and every hour and every moment within every single day. And it's a strain, but I had to do it. I had to take notes, and I had to take notes in my way. Not writing them down. Drawings, pictures, didn't matter. And if you think about it, then planning my time, I knew that as soon as the lecture finished, could I find a safe space, quiet, write them down? Could I use the notes? Could I do something different? I had to be innovative. This is the hardest one in the world, as you probably can tell. I had to slow down. I'm hyperactive at the best of time, right? And I want to run about, and I had to breathe. And I had to learn how to calm down, plan my time, slow down. And then this one, I carried a little yellow dictionary about with me, because spell check is the greatest thing in the world, isn't it? If you can spell. I know a lot of people agree with me. And I used to look up, and it was brilliant at this little yellow dictionary, and I used to go to people, hey, do you know that? Do you know that's an acting word? Oh, what's a prove it? Look at that. People go, Paul, we learned that in primary one. Where have you been? Only up until about a month ago, I still had that little yellow dictionary. My daughter actually turned up and said, why don't you ask your phone? I went, what? She says, look, what's this, Dad? Hello, Siri, got to tell me spell this word. I went, how's that been going on? She went, Dad, where do you live in the black and white days? And that was it. It was game on. In a football term, I had got up at the back post. I had knocked a header in. I was back. I had the tools. I now had the armoury to go on and do something. And boy, did I do it. I built confidence. I believed in everything I had because teamwork was there. Now, there's a couple of things up there. I became student president, and I'll tell you the reason I became student president. I need pink paper or yellow paper when I'm doing a lot of reading. So if I'm doing a lot of academic reading, I need to read it off a different colour paper. I went to the library one day and said, can I get this print? And said, the librarian was horrible. She was an absolute horror. She went, we don't do pink paper in this year. If you're dyslexic, you get double white paper. It's like, I want pink paper. You can't get it. How do I get pink paper? The only people who can get you pink paper is the board of management. Okay. How do I go on the board of management? You have to become student president. How do I become student president? It's down the hall. Back in a minute. So if I stomped like a stoppy teenager, wrote a manifesto, won by a landslide, went to my first board of management meeting with a paper, get pink paper. My chairman says, you want to deliver that at the library? I will. And it was a moment in my life where a big light bulb went off in my head that I could make a difference. I had power. I realised that I had a responsibility now to help people, to make a difference, to make change happen. And I sat in my auditorium as my chair of my college read out, and he says, I'm going to speak on behalf of the board of management that we are delighted that Paul McNeill was moving on from this college because he has been a thorn on our side for a good reason, for changing principles. And I am delighted today to say that Paul McNeill is our student of the year. My mum turned around and went, is there 2 Pauls at this college? Let me through. And I went on, and I started to succeed. There's some of the qualifications I got. I missed out by 1.8 of a mark to get a first class honours. I'm still gutted about that spelling mistake. I'm only joking. But that's the way I think about life. We still in this country, particularly in Scotland, think about children, and I'm so proud of today, we still think about them like that. We still think about them in blocks of wood. Well, you can't learn. No, you can. You treat people correctly. You give them the right light, the right sun, the right environment, the right tools, they will fly. They will utterly fly. And that is our responsibility to change that. It's our responsibility to make that better for everybody in the world. And I won't rest until I do that. And the reason I do that, and the reason I say that, is I come to a crossroads every single day in my life. And it's dead easy for some people. Some people think, oh, life's dead easy. So you just walk that way. To get over there, you just have to walk that way. And you get there. They don't realise the challenges that somebody's face. And I don't. I have to go another way. I have to go down here. It might take me a little wee while. I've got a lot of challenges to face. I have to get a different view. I'm knackered by the time of half the things, but I don't. I kind of go, well, there's the lovely people. Everybody's actually really nice to me. And then I have to go another way. And I build that resilience as I go. And I eventually get there. So why did people put hundreds of stairs in here? I didn't realise it was long. But there's no right way. And I get to the same place. It might take me a wee bit longer, but I get here. And do you know what I do when I get there? I get a wee pot of gold. And it's my pot of gold. Because I've earned it. And you might get there the same time as me. But I will work, and I have worked probably much more harder than anybody else to get to that point. And I'm so proud of how I do it. And like everybody else in this world, there isn't one way. There is no right way. There is our way. And we have to make that better. And I'm so proud of where I've got to in my life. As I say, I'm just honoured to be an ambassador for Dyslexia Scotland. And I will keep smashing those doors down. And I will keep annoying people until we make change possible. And I do so many things. And I'm going to share with you, just as I sum up here, a couple of things. A couple of years ago, Dyslexia Scotland said to me, I think we can maybe do something with a bit of an idea. And we ran with this idea about trying to create an interactive thing using superheroes to engage with children. And it boomed. We went into schools, we got the creativity, we got children who didn't believe in themselves to build confidence, to work with themselves. I'm going to let you in a wee secret. My wife had always wanted to be a writer. She always wanted to publish a book since she was 5. I wanted to land on Mars, she wanted to publish a book. You can tell there's a wee bit of a difference between us. And I came back from a conference one day, and somebody came up to me and said, see that idea you've got? The workshops, they're brilliant, we should make it into a book. I walked in and went like to my wife, we've got a book deal. She went, you don't get a book deal like that. I said, somebody's going to phone us tomorrow and give us a book deal. And 2 years ago, we launched Mission Dyslexia, which is an interactive book to try and help people. And these are only a few of the unbelievable messages I get. And I tell you something, every time one of them comes, it goes right into my heart, and I cry every single time I get them. I've never met that wee young boy up there. But if that is somebody that's telling me he's rocking his dyslexia, I'm rocking it with them. Because we've now got a movement that is bigger and more powerful, and we will win. We will not be defeated. The one over here, this is the Odyssey School in America. See that teacher that told me I would achieve nothing? I've got books in a school in America. And I'll tell you a little story. They asked us, could we come on to a call because all the children wanted to show us their work. I forgot there's a time difference between us and America. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. So the kids were delighted. They brought me popcorn. So, but just what they didn't mute me so I could hear them all speaking when it went. And I could hear some of the parents turn around and say, I cannot believe you've got the authors of this amazing book on. I could have absolutely just ended my life then. Because I thought, oh my God, we've done it. We've made an absolute difference to somebody's life. And this book will keep going, and I will keep going and keep fighting. In my working capacity, I'm delighted that I break down barriers. I am responsible for part of the para-football project in this world, and it deals with children who are autistic, who've got ADHD, and I will break down those barriers. I will make football for all. If you're amputee, if you're sitting in a classroom and you want to play football, we will make it happen. I'm not resting until it does happen. I'm not doing it. And if you want to stand in my way, I will shove you out the road. Because that is what we should be doing in society. I think I'm just about maybe staying on time here. So these are the last things that I just want to sum up with. These are the things I have learned out of my journey in society. You've always got to ask for help. It is singly the most hardest thing to do. And any time I speak to a child, I say, why don't you want to ask for help? I'm embarrassed. Nobody helps me. Going to change that. Going to start sticking our hands up and asking for help. I wish I had. I wish I'd asked for help long ago. My dad might still be here. I can't go back and save him. I can't go back and save that 9-year-old Paul McNeill. But I can make a 9-year-old's life better today. So going to start asking for help. We're never alone. Look at us. Look at this army we're building. We ain't alone anymore. I felt like the most loneliest human being ever, but we aren't. And we are building the biggest super army we can ever go. And who's going to take us on? Absolutely nobody. Absolutely nobody is going to stand in our way. Hard work will get results. It will. I sat there some days thinking, I can't do this. I can't do this. But if you believe and you get the right tools and the right support, you can go and do anything you want. Aiming high is okay. We live in a fickle Scottish nation where you're not allowed to aim high. And I go across to all around Europe and they go, Paolo, and I think they can't even spell my name. Joking. I know it was a bit of a slow one, that, sorry. But they go, we can do anything. And we can. I will land on Mars. I will land on Mars. I don't care what you think. I don't care if you laugh at me. I will do it. I will get there. Because you have to believe that you are capable of doing anything. I think there's so many talks today to say, we can't be embarrassed. I'm 48 years of age and I can't spell. I literally can't spell a word. Do I care? No. And if you're going to challenge me, I'm just going to go, who cares anymore? We can't be embarrassed about the situations we have to fight back. But we can't let children be embarrassed. We can't let them be embarrassed and not ask for help. That's down to us. It's down to us to change that society, to make the fight right. More voices will make a difference. More voices will. Don't go shy and into the darkness. Don't leave here today and say, oh, I had a funny laugh, and a wee guy was up there telling some jokes. Don't do it. Annoy people. Shout. Help us. Come with us. Our voices can be heard if we go as a collective unit into the darkness, and we will win. I have no doubt about that. And I ain't going. And I believe that the people in this room have got the power to do anything. And I'm going to leave you with this one by one of the great authors. I've been lucky enough to go and watch this many a time, and I watched it in London to the actual musical with my daughter. And it was one of the most surreal moments of my life when my daughter went and stood up on her chair and started singing, and people started looking at her, and I thought, you can do one or two things here, wee man. You can get her to sit back down, or you can stand up and sing. You're not going to work out what I did. It certainly wasn't bringing her back down. And I thought, do you know something? We live our life. My daughter struggles with dyslexia, but she loved it that day. And those words are really true. And those words should echo in your soul tonight. Somewhere inside all of us is the power to change the world. I'll read that again. Somewhere inside all of us is the power to change the world. We can change it. We can make life better for people. I ain't going quietly into the night. I was too quiet back then, and I'm going to fight for everybody. And I'm going to make it better. I have made a promise to myself that I will make Dyslexia, Scotland, a dyslexic-friendly nation. And I will fight with any of you. And if you want to come with me in the fight, trust me, I will not go quietly into the night. And I will fight, and I will shout, and I will bawl until the day that I make the world a better place. And trust me, I will do it. I will make it happen. Because I'm not quiet. I'm not shy. And I am my mum's little ray of sunshine. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Paul McNeill. I'm dyslexic. But like 1 in 10 of the Scottish population, I am so proud to be. And I am never, ever ceasing this fight. Thank you so much for listening today.